Welcome to Underwater CSI International Revealed with your hosts, Senior Investigators Rich Morin and Ed Myron.
Well, hello and good day. This
What's going
is
on, buddy?
Mr. Morin. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Good, good. Um, I'll just do the quick introduction. I'm Senior Investigator Ed Myron, your co-host, and always alongside here, my host, Senior Investigator Rich Morin.
You're looking good, Ed.
Well, you know, Aquaman, that's you. And
That's right.
I don't what that guy said, Barnacle Boy. Wow.
Barnacle Boy.
I don't know. But welcome back to Underwater CSI Revealed for part two of our last episode.
Danger in a foreign country.
Danger in a foreign country. Yes, sir.
Before we get started, Ed, let's just give a shout out to Bobby Falcon, who is our technician and also a fellow team member.
Yes, sir.
Right? Bobby's also one of our divers.
Yep.
We appreciate everything Bobby does for us.
Yep.
And none of this would happen if it wasn't for Bobby.
Right.
So we greatly appreciate that. Also, a shout out to Randy Overton. He's the one with the deep voice at the beginning and the end of our show, doing the intro and outro. So if anyone needs Randy's services at all, let us know at Underwater CSI or UWCSI at yahoo.com. UWCSI at yahoo.com. And then the other thing is, like we said on part one, we had one of our subscribers, one of our listeners, Davita Johnston, who has a little business, Crafts by Davita, located just south of Knoxville. She does all these great little gift items. This is actually, she took our logo and laser impregnated it onto a coaster, but the coaster is made out of slate.
Slate. Yeah.
So, we got a bunch of those. We really appreciate that. I actually sent you some, Ed.
Yeah, I have those. They're out. I have some in my office as well.
So we really appreciate that. If anyone's interested in all the different crafts she does all kinds of stuff. But, not only with the laser, but she also does, woodworking. She does paintings. I mean, just you name it, this lady does all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested in getting in touch with Davita, just give us a shout at UWCSI at yahoo.com and I'll send you her information.
And remember those likes and, if you're listening, and subscribe, because it's going to help us, grow this show and help us to do some other things as well. So like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family.
Yeah, we got a lot of viewers. I mean, we've got a lot, but unfortunately, people aren't liking and sharing and subscribing. So it only takes a few seconds. We hope you really appreciate the show and you like it.
Yeah.
So we would really greatly appreciate you, hitting that like button and share it with your family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let them know about us. Maybe you don't have to be a diver in order to enjoy crime scene shows.
Yep.
So like, share, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that.
Exactly.
So Ed, last time we were talking about danger in a foreign country.
Yep.
Just to kind of give a recap, if you have not watched part one, please go back and watch that first before watching this segment here, because otherwise you're going to be lost here.
Right.
Just a little recap. We were in a foreign country. Initially, they're doing some insurance investigation on a sunken yacht, suspected fraud. So we spent a couple of weeks on that, and then deciding to do some enjoyment diving. You and I actually came across a potential murder scene.
Yeah, potential crime scene. Yep.
Yeah, crime scene. So we went ahead and we, investigated that. We ran into some issues. We did not get a warm greeting or welcome to the island.
Right.
We're off the coast of South America on a small island. We did not get a warm, fuzzy greeting from the local authorities when we were initially there just to do the insurance investigation. But then when we found this, potential crime scene underwater, we really got
The cold shoulder.
Yeah, the cold shoulder. Um, so anyway, we come to find out that we believe that the law enforcement are involved in it.
Correct. Yep.
Um, so what we were trying to do is trying to protect our evidence, trying to protect our team, trying to protect our equipment. As far as electronic equipment, cameras, SIM cards, photographs, our
Laptops.
potential evidence that
Right.
we collected. We had set up a mock crime scene out there, which ended up getting destroyed
Right.
by the police during the evening, during the night when there was supposed to be somebody who watching the site. But we had set up a mock scene because we had a bad feeling, about everything, etc.
Right.
So where we left off is we had taken our laptops now, and we had boxed those up and basically mailed them back to our cells at the hotel.
Hotel.
But
Right.
going to the dive shop, not to the front desk.
Right.
And the Photoshop that's attached to the dive shop, for the underwater photos, we have our trail cams that we had purchased and set up, and that's how we captured the police destroying our crime scene. We
Right.
have those locked up in the photo department.
Right. They're still there. Right.
Yeah.
So then,
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, then we were convinced that that this is a big problem within the law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as far as part two goes, what we're going to start off with is once we were convinced that
Sorry.
the evidence was somewhat protected, we tried to do everything that we could to protect our team and protect the evidence. We made a call to the lieutenant.
Right.
That was the person I initially talked to. Also responded to the scene initially, but he was also one of the 3 divers that showed up that night
That we
and
saw in
aided
the
in the
trail cam.
destruction of our mock crime scene. They didn't know it was a mock crime scene,
Right.
but destroyed our float balls and dive flags and CSI tape. Do not enter.
Right.
All our placards, potential evidence on the bottom that we had. We had bone shards, and we had a chain link fence, and we had pieces of clothing and stuff, and all of that was gone.
Right.
Just completely destroyed the following morning when we showed up. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've like you said, the lieutenant was one of the guys that we saw on the trail cam.
Yeah.
So we went in and we met with him.
Yeah. And we both acted angry.
Right.
We were mad, that hey, we showed up. The officer who was supposed to be there all night protecting the site was gone.
Right.
And our scene, our crime scene is destroyed.
Right.
It's destroyed.
Right. And
You
he
know,
was
you
he was
remember
like,
that look on his face, just
Yeah.
kind of like, and that little giggle he's giving and stuff. I just wanted
Yeah.
to reach over and smack him.
yeah, was like,
But-
oh well, yeah, there's not really much I can do.
Yeah.
And
And when
supposedly,
we asked what happened to the officer that was supposed to be watching the site, what was his
Right.
response?
right, yeah, supposedly he had a family emergency
Yeah.
and couldn't get somebody else to replace him.
Yeah. We got a
So-
potential crime scene, and now it's, no one's going to be looking after the potential
Potential
evidence,
evidence. Right.
et cetera.
Right.
But I remember when he says, "Oh boy, that's too bad. That's
Yeah.
too bad that happened."
That's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no concern at all. Just kind of,
No.
a little smile on his face, and
Yeah.
that's too bad.
Yep.
But
But we were still, we were saying we were acting angrily and, said, okay, well, we can't do anything. If there's no evidence, we really can't do anything. There's no evidence. There's nothing left. So if you guys want to go ahead and finish up the whatever investigation, go ahead. And again, what was his response?
he just kind of and a little chuckle.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like that's going to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get right on that.
yeah. We're on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then we decide, our plans going accordingly.
right,
I mean, this is kind of what we were expecting. This is what we planned for,
right,
from the beginning.
yeah,
It's unfortunate, but we had run into situations in the past with other agencies that we were working with or alongside who kind of, they treat us like, like the outsider.
Right.
And, we don't need your help. We don't need you here.
Right. We're
And
the professionals.
yeah, until they realize, and they see our expertise, and everything that we do,
Right.
and we've made lifelong friends, from, experiences and working with other teams and stuff like that. Once
Right.
they realize we're not there to compete with you, we're there to work with you
Right.
on it.
Yeah, we're
And
not there
another
to
thing we do
step on
too when
anybody's
we're
toes.
what's that, huh?
We're not there to step on anybody's toes.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
we're there to support you, help you.
And when we're giving debriefs at the podium, in a lot of high profile cases,
Right.
we've been with heads of states, we've been with governors, we've been with mayors, we've been with all kinds of, top officials, standing at the podium and giving them updates, etc. We always praise the local departments because,
Right.
again, when it's all over, we're out of there. We're
Right.
leaving.
Right.
That's their community. So we're hoping that it'll generate some additional revenue for them for additional training and equipment and stuff like that. Because
Right.
a lot of these departments just are so antiquated in their equipment because of budget cuts and budget concerns.
Sure.
And it's underwater. It doesn't happen very often, but when
Right.
it does happen, they're not prepared.
Right.
So
Exactly.
anyway, all right. So let's continue on.
Yep.
So we
So we went to
decide
Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
we decide that we're going to go ahead and start our research now a little bit.
Right.
So we check the local library for past articles, back issues for articles of missing persons for the last 5 to 12 years. And
Yep.
we find a few, but most of them are accounted for.
Right.
Either they showed up somewhere else or they were, recovered, or, they fell to suspicious activities,
Right. Right.
But anyway, there was one, though, that really fit our concerns.
Right. Kind of stood out.
Yeah, kind of
Right.
stood out a little bit. And we weren't quite sure why it never went further than what it did for investigation.
Right.
And just a little over 9 years prior, a, a detective investigator from the fatherland, which is in Europe,
Europe. Yep.
was sent to this island to basically kind of observe the police department and make reports back to the fatherland as far as, is there any potential concerns with the law enforcement, because they've had so many complaints about embezzlement, extortion, and drug smuggling,
Right.
and just all kinds of stuff. So they were there for a very short time. I forgot what it was here. Let me just check my notes real quick.
Well, it was about 9 years ago.
Yeah,
that he was
just a
there.
little over 9 years ago, and the person
Yeah.
was only on island for less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. A short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And disappeared.
Was gone.
Yep. And the person who is now put in charge of investigating the disappearance from the fatherland just kind of went with the law enforcement's story as far as what happened. They
Right.
claimed that
Their explanation.
yeah, they claimed that he had met a very attractive woman from Venezuela, that they fell in love. He didn't have any family. I mean,
Right. He was a single guy.
yeah, he was a single guy, no family at all. Parents were gone. I mean, just totally on his own.
Right.
And decided to head off with her and be happy forever in South America.
Right. Didn't
And,
tell anybody.
Yeah, and not, and basically just, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And off he goes. And that was it. I mean, there was no other lengthy investigation that was done.
Right. And
So
they basically went with it. They were like, okay,
yeah,
yep, you guys, he
well,
was
they
there
didn't
with,
have any evidence to prove otherwise.
right. Nothing
But
to
why
prove.
would this guy not contact, headquarters and say, hey, you know what,
Hey.
I'm leaving. I'm giving my resignation, and
Yeah.
but nothing, just disappeared.
Yeah. Just gone.
But yeah, so
And there
kind
was
of
no other, like you said, no other supporting evidence
yeah,
to prove otherwise.
yeah, and you got the local authorities, the police that are there,
Right.
telling them that, no, hey, we were really surprised this guy took off, and
Yeah.
et cetera. I mean,
We worked.
they contacted the fatherland and told them, hey, this investigator said down, yeah, he took off, he's out of here.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
really?
worked.
Oh, geez.
We worked side by side with each other. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. What a great guy. Yeah, he's gonna have a happy life now. But anyway, so just after a short time, there he disappeared. The
Right.
captain of the local agency claimed that he met the South American woman. Right, so it was a high-ranking official
Right.
within the department. So hey, why not believe him? Well,
Sure.
the
Why
reason you don't
not?
believe him because you're sending a guy there to investigate him for all kinds of potential
Corruption.
crimes.
Right.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So we didn't know how far the corruption went within the department or even the government could be.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I
Because there
mean,
could be government officials that could be, contaminated also.
right.
As far as corruption goes.
Right. So we
So
had some serious concerns about not only our safety, but our whole entire team safety.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's our number one concern now.
Right.
We're on an island,
Exactly.
with a corrupt. At least we know right now we've got some corrupt police officers on island.
Right.
Right, we got to get off this island.
Right.
Right, and we
Right.
got to get off this island with evidence against these people.
Right.
How are we going to make this happen?
Exactly.
That was a concern.
Yep.
So we come up with a plan. All right.
Very elaborate plan.
Very elaborate plan. You are going to head out early.
Yep. I'm going to head over to Europe.
You're going to head to Europe.
Yep.
And you're going to meet with the equivalent of what we would call our Department of Justice.
Right.
All right. You're going to meet with a member of the Department of Justice over in the fatherland.
Right.
And basically tell them what's going on.
Right.
And you're going to show them the photos, and you're going to show them the
the video, right?
Yeah,
the video
trail
recording
cams,
from the trail cams, right?
All the photos of the evidence and stuff like that. You're not going to have any hard evidence with you,
right?
But that's what you're going to do,
right? So I booked a flight for leaving the following morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
And because this is early, and the rest of the team is still, back there, and we're just kind of doing our thing now, just kind of hanging out.
Right.
The suspicion is not on one individual person; it's
right.
on the team.
Right.
They're kind of watching the team moving around. Are we going to breakfast? Are we hanging out at the pool? Are we,
right.
What are we doing, etc.
Right.
So it was kind of easy for one person to sneak off.
Yeah. So after breakfast, I jump in the cab and I head out. And then,
Yeah, we don't bring you to the airport. We have
right.
you call it, we have you get a cab.
Yep.
But when you got the cab, though, it was actually at the hotel adjacent to us.
Right.
All right. So we, we loaded up the truck with dive gear, snuck your suitcase in there.
Yep.
Right. Your stuff in there, brought it over to that hotel, dropped you off like we're going out on a dive.
Right.
You changed over there. All right. Got into, your traveling clothes instead of your island clothes.
Yep.
And called the cab from over there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we got you out of there, kind of under the radar.
Yep. And then we had also, I had retrieved my laptop, and then we had one of the other team members go over to the Photoshop at the dive operation to retrieve the SIM cards from the trail cams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
then
we have
we locked
that.
those trail cams back up and put them back in the Photoshop in the office.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to basically sacrifice those trail cams.
Right.
We're not going to bother to take them back with us.
Right. Because we know, well, and especially because the whole team, once you guys get to the airport, got to go through security, and everything's going to be gone through.
Oh yeah. All of us. They're going to just search everything.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. So we want to get the SIM cards because we want to put those SIM cards in with the other evidence.
Right.
That we have,
right.
and basically hide it.
Right.
So anyway, tickets are booked for stateside return for the remainder of the team. That's going to be in 2 days.
Yeah. A couple of days later. Right.
So after we make sure that you're safely on the way.
Yep.
All right. No issues, because your response was, give us a call if for some reason something's not going right at the airport. But, everything went real smooth.
Yeah,
I
it went
mean,
smooth. Yep.
yep, you're on your way to Europe. So the rest of us decide that we're just going to kind of, act inconspicuous and hang out at the pool and
Yeah, lounge
do our,
around.
yeah, lounge around and do our meal thing and
Yep.
like, all right, we're just kind of taking it easy now, and we're kind of done diving right now. We're
Yeah.
just kind of hanging out now, waiting to try to get out of there.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're going to kind of do the something that we always do, right? We are together. We have, kind of hang out a little bit, and
yeah, do
then
our meals together,
yeah,
etc.
head down, head downtown for the local pizza.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we're going to do for that lunch.
Right.
Actually,
Right.
yeah, we're going to head
Okay.
down for
Yeah.
the local
Right.
pizza. There's a really good pizza shop that's down there. So we're going to head down there, and so we have a great lunch. And when we return, and I walk into my room, which is the room you and I had been sharing, um, it's ransacked.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just turned upside down. And I don't want to say that I was in shock, or it surprised me. I mean, I was just kind of like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They did it. I mean, you want to talk about starting to really act guilty now. All right.
Right.
So my room's ransacked. So I call the other team members' rooms, and same thing. Everybody's rooms are ransacked. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Right.
Um,
But explain what was actually taken.
our cameras that we used to photograph the evidence, and that was it.
Right. That's
That
all
was
that
it.
was missing.
Yeah, our cameras were gone. So now it
Right.
looks like it was a theft. All
Right.
right. Rather
Yeah.
than the police ransacked our rooms. But
Right.
funny how they ransacked the entire team,
You're right.
all of
Right.
our rooms. Right.
Right.
And how did they get in?
Right.
Yeah.
So
So that's the reason that we didn't go to the front desk also with all the stuff, because the way they get in is they're going to get a pass key from the front desk.
right. What's the
Go into our
sense?
rooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they asked also if we had anything, being held there
Right.
at the front desk, not realizing that we had, two laptops at the, the dive shop, and we had, the trail cams at the photo shop, and
Yep.
all the evidence was hidden in the spare tire of our rental Jeep.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So they had no idea. Um, so anyway, so we ensure your safety and stuff. We go for lunch. Our rooms are ransacked. Um, Nothing was taken from the other team members.
Right.
So we decided to head out and check our trucks. All right. So the rental trucks had also been searched also.
Right.
So my heart was pounding a little bit because the Jeep was parked a little ways away, and that was the last one that we checked. And so I was wondering, oh man, don't tell me that they got the spare tire.
Right.
But no, they didn't even bother.
Yeah.
We just didn't even think of it, just kind of look through the glove box and under the seats and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yep.
But
In the back. Yep.
yeah, but
Because it
no,
had that little tarp that we would throw over, to kind of keep if we had tanks and things in the back, we
yeah,
just throw that tarp over. That was moved out of the way.
yeah,
Yep.
yep. So anyway, that was kind of like, but fortunately, the spare tire containing all the evidence hadn't been touched.
Right.
So there's no point for us to contact the front desk now and tell them that, hey, our rooms have been ransacked and our trucks have been,
Yeah.
searched, etc. Because all they're going to do is call the police.
Right.
Right.
Which
So
are big help.
yeah. So concern for protecting our evidence and the remaining laptop, and also expecting a more thorough search at the airport. What I decided to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and take all this stuff now. I'm going to go to the dive shop and I'm going to collect the last laptop, my laptop,
Right.
and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my way to the local DHL office. DHL is a shipper, kind of like FedEx or something like that.
Sure.
That ships all over the world, and they're pretty
Yep.
quick.
Yep.
So I decided to go to the local DHL facility, but I'm not going to take any of our vehicles.
Right.
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and
Okay.
call a cab and take the cab over.
Right.
So prior to the cab showing up, all right, I have one of the team members go out by themselves and take the spare tire off the back of the Jeep and just kind of leave it inside the Jeep itself in the back area,
Right.
right? And just kind of leave it there so I can recover it quickly. So I get in the cab, and we start to leave, and I instruct him to go over to the parking lot area. So he does, and I have him stop at the Jeep, and I hurry up. I tell him, I says, I got a flat, and I just have to get it repaired before I bring the rental truck back. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I said, can you pop your trunk? So it was quick. I got out,
Yep.
grabbed a spare tire, threw it in, off we went. But I kept looking around to make sure we weren't followed. We weren't.
Right.
But I was very suspicious at this point, and got to the local DHL office and took the spare out, and told the cab driver, paid him and told him that I was going to be there for a while and I would call for another ride.
Right.
After he left, I went ahead and deflated the tire and pried the tire out enough to
Took the evidence out.
pull the evidence out, the baggie of evidence that had all the smaller bags in there. And
SIM
along
cards
my
were all part of that as well.
What's that?
In the SIM cards we had already
yeah.
moved there, so that's all part of it as well.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. And so I went ahead and went into DHL and got ready to ship it out, but I wasn't shipping it back stateside.
Right.
What you and I had discussed was we have to kind of throw a sneak play here.
Right.
I'm gonna pretend that I'm going back stateside when the rest of the group were going to this particular island, to Miami back up to New York.
Right.
But I'm going to I'm keeping that ticket, right, in case they're investigating it or keeping an eye on it. But I book another ticket to the Bahamas.
Right.
To the island of New Providence.
Right. And I've already, sorry.
Ahead,
you and I have already discussed that when I leave Europe, I'm going to fly to the Bahamas as well.
Correct. We're going to meet back up there before we head back stateside.
Right.
Right. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute here.
Yep.
So at that point, so I book another flight to the Bahamas, which is leaving an hour and a half later than the flight back to Miami and eventually back to New York.
Right. So the rest of the team, they're going on that flight going back to the States.
Right.
Right.
Yep. So the morning of, we're getting ready to head out, early to the airport. Even though my flight doesn't head out for another hour and a half, I got to pretend that I'm flying with these guys. I still have that ticket.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So when I go up to the ticket counter, okay, I tell them, okay, you know what? I booked another ticket to the Bahamas. Can you go ahead and process that and give me my boarding pass for that particular flight?
Right.
All right. They don't know what, I mean, everybody's going up to the ticket counter. I mean, they don't know. But before that, we get into the airport, we walk through the doors, and immediately we're stopped by law enforcement, our entire group.
Right.
I mean, we're not even up to the ticket counter yet. And they go through everything.
Right.
I mean, they are just ripping our stuff apart. It's like, well, what's the problem? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
Can we help you out at all? Just acting confused, like, hey, we don't know what you guys are doing here.
Right. Right.
But
and
they had no idea that we have trail cam evidence on these guys.
Right.
But we, so now we got to put everything back. It was just a pain in the rear end. I bet we were there 30 minutes. So we finally get to the ticket counter. Everybody gets their tickets. We go through security. And guess what?
The same thing. It's the same thing.
Police are standing there with, security and stuff. And they go through all our stuff again.
Yeah.
It's like, really, going through our clothes, patting us down. I mean, just everything.
Right.
And, everything but the rubber glove check. And I'm surprised it didn't happen.
But come back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Bend over and grab your ankles.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So you finally heading down to the gate, but it's not. So explain, when we're in these foreign countries, in these islands, it's not like the airports here in New York or Philadelphia or Tennessee or whatever. It's a big open area.
Yeah, open air.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going through any front doors, et cetera. I mean, it's basically it's all open and the ticket counter's under roof, but it's,
Right.
set back a little bit. So, I
Exactly.
mean, you're basically walking into a big like courtyard type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite different.
Right.
And you got to remember too, you don't have the same rights, et cetera, that you have back in the United States.
Right.
You can start talking about all the constitutional rights you want, but you're not in that country right now.
Exactly.
You're in their home country now.
Right.
So they
Right.
want to pull you off and search you, et cetera, and then they can do that.
They can do that. Right.
They want to hold you, and they can do that
They can-
also.
Right. They can
Oh.
confiscate your passport and hold
Yeah.
your passport. That means you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that they can do.
Right.
That might not seem right. They wouldn't be allowed to do in the States, but
Right.
again, you got to go by their rules, and sometimes the rules don't exist.
Right. So explain how that wall worked and how that all worked out for you.
Now, what wall?
The wall where you kind of when the team was going on board the plane that allowed you to kind of
Well, after we finally got through security,
right.
and got into the waiting area, it's just one big giant room,
Right.
and they got different doors that lead to different jetways,
Right.
right? So the different one, but everybody's in just one big waiting area. There's no wall section off or anything else,
Right.
and each door is for a different flight that's heading out and stuff. Well, when you first walk into this waiting room, if you look along the left wall, it goes down, and there's a couple of small little shops there and stuff. But on the far end, it looked like maybe at one point there was another shop there, but they needed more seating. So they took the front facade off and basically put more chairs in there. So it was kind of like a separate room,
Right.
but without a wall that closed it off.
Right.
All right. So when you looked down, all you saw was the wall that was straightened down. You couldn't see that room at all.
Right.
So I had decided that, all right, I'm going to stop in and buy a newspaper. All right. Because we got police that are there watching us.
Yeah.
Right. They're watching the group.
Right.
I don't leave for an hour and a half after everybody.
Right.
But I have to get up as if I'm boarding with the group.
Right.
All right. Now there's a
Right.
lot of us. So, I don't think they're going to sit there and take head count. Once you go through and everyone's wearing our CSI uniforms, the black
Right.
shirts and stuff. So, from the back, we're all looking the same.
Right.
And so we get up to when they finally call our flight for boarding, we get up as a group, and
Right.
and everybody's kind of like in back of me,
Right.
kind of
You're kind of
shielding me a little
shielding.
bit.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I duck down, and I scoot over and I go into this other room and I sit and I open up my newspaper and
Right.
kind of sit back there in a corner.
You're
Nobody comes over to check.
right. You're
They're
kind of
just
waiting
watching
there.
the bodies going through down the jetway.
Right. Right.
Checking in with their boarding pass and going down the jetway. Nobody's taking a head count. They
Right.
don't realize you're gone. They don't realize I'm gone.
Right. And
Right.
you're back there,
Yeah.
and just hoping somebody doesn't, hey, tap on your paper and go, hey, come with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I'm nervous. I got another hour and a half. I got to wait
Right.
and praying that they don't do a sweep through,
Right.
to make sure that we all left.
Right.
Right. But they
Right.
didn't. All
Right.
they did was they stayed back by security and watched us from there. So it's
Right.
quite a ways away. They just saw a lot of black shirts get up and they head along with all the rest of the people. And more people are piling in behind,
Right.
behind us and stuff. So,
So-
they can't see all that good now. All
Right.
they know is that, hey, all the black shirts got on the
On that
the
flight.
jetway.
Yep.
So the rest of the team gets on, they close up, the plane takes off, they're on their way to Miami. It's like a big sigh of relief. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm still sitting there going, oh man, I'll tell you, I sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
I was
It's
like,
just a-
okay, because now I'm by myself now.
right.
You're gone. The rest of the team's off the island. We got everybody safe. We got our evidence heading to the Bahamas. We got your laptop with you. My laptop is in a DHL box.
Right.
Heading there, and now I just have to get off the island.
Right.
So, hour and a half goes by, and they call my flight, and I get up and head on over, and managed to get on the plane. I kind of looked around the corner first, and no police. They were gone.
Yeah. Gone.
So it was like, whew.
Yeah.
So,
So finally, I mean, that was a sigh of relief, right? Once the plane took off, you were like, "Whew, man,
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, it was a restless night the night before,
oh yeah,
as far as sleeping that
yeah,
night. Because, man, tossing and turning and wondering, are we going to be able to get off this island?
right."
Are we
And
going
is
to,
everybody going to be able to get off safe?
yeah,
Yep.
yep, exactly. Um, so anyway, we, the rest of the team, heads to Miami. I head off to the Bahamas. Upon me arriving at the hotel, I, check in. The DHL box isn't there. It's not scheduled to be there till the following day.
Right.
But I give you a call.
Yep.
Now, fill us in on what you've been doing now the last 2 days.
Yeah. So, like you said before, I was over there with the equivalent of the DOJ, right? And so I met with a number of people, and during that time, I explained to them, what was going on, what we ran into, what we encountered, not only when, for the insurance fraud for the yacht recovery and investigation that we didn't receive a warm welcome, but then when we were out doing a recreational dive, we had met some people. I explained the situation, and that through further investigation, we found that this was a potential crime scene. We worked with the local law enforcement, and that they had destroyed what they thought was the crime scene. And we have
What did they say though when you said, "We believe it's your missing investigator"?
well, that was the icing on the cake, right? So I got to the end of all the explanation of what happened, and we said we believe that this is your investigator.
Hey,
After
when
our
you showed them the video from the trail cams
Yeah,
of them going out and destroying the crime scene, what were their faces like and their expressions?
well, there was a number of people in the room, right?
Yeah,
Um, and it was just like first it was shock, and then anger, right? You can imagine, right? If one of us had been missing, right? And now you find out that supposedly law enforcement was working side by side with this guy, and all of a sudden now he's gone. It's it, it was shock and
yeah,
then anger. So I
yeah.
mean, um, and the good thing about it was that two of the gentlemen agreed to fly back with me to the Bahamas to meet with you. Again, I only had the videos and the photography, the pictures that we took and things like that, right? I didn't
Right.
have the physical evidence, but I wanted them to see the physical evidence. So they agreed. And are they going to send one guy? No, not after what happened to the other guy.
Yeah.
So so they
So you had a
agreed,
senior investigator and a detective investigator that flew back with you.
right.
Yeah.
So they agreed to come to the Bahamas to meet with you and I, and the four of us would then go over all the evidence. Again, the
Because now we have the
videos,
physical evidence to turn over to them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they were more than willing to fly to the Bahamas, and they were uh, they said whatever we can do, they were willing to do, because this is one of their people.
How hard was it to convince them that we have a problem here? Was it hard at all? Or once
Uh,
you started talking to them, they were kind of like, huh, raising, like, wow.
well, the one investigator, it wasn't hard at all.
Yeah.
He I think, based on his body language, because you know how we study that type of stuff, right?
That was a senior investigator, correct?
Right, right, the
Yeah.
senior investigator. So based on his body language and how he was handling himself, he had already suspected. But what could he have done, right?
Yeah.
So now he has he has almost all the evidence, right? He has the video, he has the pictures. Now all he's waiting for is to come to the Bahamas and see that real evidence, that hard evidence that you have in your possession, that we had to sneak out of the country so that all of us were safe. So the team going back stateside, you going to the Bahamas, me going to Europe, it wasn't hard at all.
And I'll
To,
tell you, when you guys met up with me in the Bahamas,
yeah,
and I explained to them what had happened to our rooms, our vehicles, what happened when we got to the airport as far as the multiple searches go. I
right.
mean, everything, how we were under uh, police um,
Yeah, everybody just watching us.
watching us, yeah, the
Right,
entire time. I
right,
mean, every move that we made.
right.
They were just like, holy cow,
Yeah,
you know. And when we told them about our plan from the get go, starting way back at the dive site when we said, you know what, I just have that gut feeling. I got
exactly.
that bad feeling.
Right,
We came up with the mock scene. We, decided that we were going to, purchase the trail cams and do all that. And
right.
they were pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, they were
Yeah. That we
extremely
basically
impressed.
set these people up,
Right,
beat them at their own game.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
was,
they were pretty surprised too that in on one hand that we were smart enough to come up with that type of plan because what could have happened to one of us
oh, yeah.
or the team,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah. We could have been in a South American prison
yeah,
asking to speak to the American consulate.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, it's not over yet because once they uh, once they got on island, they brought in their troops, their equivalent of the National Guard, and basically took over the
right,
police force
right,
until they could figure out what was going on.
right.
You and I headed back stateside,
Yep.
and from the Bahamas, and we didn't hear back from them for a
Yeah, a
little
few
over a month.
months.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was about a month and a
About
half
a
or
month.
so.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Um, but let me see if I got this right. I'm just going to refer to my notes here.
Yeah, sure.
Um, in addition to the police officer that was there to watch our scene,
Right.
right, to make sure nobody messed with it.
Yeah, the patrolman, yeah.
Yeah, there were two sergeants, captain. There was a police chief who had retired 6 months earlier who was
Yep.
involved. Um, three initial patrolmen and the lieutenant. There were 9 total
Right.
that they found that were involved in all of this. They are arrested and will stand trial for extortion, embezzlement, drug smuggling, drug dealing, assault and battery, tax evasion, and murder.
Right.
Right. Then also, they told us that the accused are singing like canaries, right, trying to make deals and pointing fingers at each other.
Right.
And more of the stories coming out because
Right.
they're, everybody's trying to save their own butt.
Right. The cover up, who did what, you know, that the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's everything that we knew it was going to be,
Yeah.
right? So I mean,
Yeah, and that's not the only time that something like this has happened. We'll talk about some of the other the other things outside
right.
the country in some upcoming shows.
Yep.
I know there's one about a matriarch. She died while on family vacation, but the family matriarch passed away. So we're going to talk about that.
Right.
You know, but yeah, this was a good one. This was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
again,
basically we had to really think about our plan and come up with something that would get all of us out of there and get the evidence off island.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And again, that was always our concern, right?
Yeah.
Was the team's safety first and foremost, and then making sure that we all got off the island safely and we preserved and protected all the evidence.
And this wouldn't have gone anywhere either if you had not done your job properly in Europe. to convince them that, hey, there's a problem here, and it's the way that you presented the evidence, and in the order of which you presented it,
Right.
et cetera, that convinced them into, hey, we better investigate this. We better get down there and figure out what's going on.
Well, and again, it's like everybody says, right? A picture speaks 1,000 words, right?
Yeah,
So when you have the good evidence, like we had, the photos, the videos, things like that, being the professionals that we are, when we handle this type of situation, it's not hard to really convince anybody because of how we go about doing our job, right?
yeah,
So, you know, it it, it helps tremendously when we have the skills and but we have the technology and the know-how to do it all, right? So
absolutely.
so
Well, buddy, it was
but
a
good
great
show.
show.
Yeah,
Great
good show.
show.
Yeah.
Um, our next episode is going to be a two-parter also.
Right.
It may even turn into a three-parter. I'm not sure yet. But I've been sending out all kinds of FOIA or FOIL requests. Some people call it Freedom of Information Act, and others call it Freedom of Information Law. But either way, FOIA or FOIL request, and been running into a lot of roadblocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one that they told me that I just asked for one report. One report is all I requested on from this department,
Yeah.
and they said it would be. Now that was 2 months ago, more than 2 months ago now, right? Probably 3 months ago now that I requested that, and they got 10 days to respond. Well, they responded,
Yeah.
but they responded with, "Oh yeah, we can't have that to you until April 4th."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So we may still go with the shows, and then when the report does come in, just kind of have a special,
Yeah. Give them an update.
yeah, give them an update
Yep.
on what's going on with that.
All right.
Um, but I have a lot of, I have hundreds and hundreds of pages of FOIA requests that have come to me
Yeah.
that I've been going through and taking notes and
Well,
reports.
don't give any more information.
Yeah, I'm not.
No.
But anyway, our next episode is going to be about, and we're going to actually, usually we don't share the names or location and stuff,
Right.
but this was the Ethan Allen tour boat tragedy. If you're not familiar with it, it was a tour boat up on Lake George, New York that capsized with senior citizens on board. We ended up with 20 fatalities on that. So we are going to talk about that in great detail.
Yep.
And all the stuff, all the things that occurred, and the cover up. We're going to talk about the big cover up that happened, but the investigation also led to the exposure of the Panama Papers. If you're not familiar with the Panama Papers, it was
Yep.
a
The movie.
law firm in the country of Panama that had a lot of shell companies. And what they did was they would basically launder money for royalty, political elites, stuff like that, who are stealing tax dollars, etc.
Right.
Illegal funds, kickbacks, things like that. And they would launder money for these people from all over the world, and through all these shell companies. So the investigation on the Ethan Allen, or the accident of the Ethan Allen, ended up exposing and opening up the Panama Papers. There's a movie out
Yep.
called The Laundromat, and it's on Netflix, I believe, with Meryl Streep, Antonio Banderas, and Gary Oldman. It's kind of a weird movie. I'm not real crazy on how they did it with the Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas role, but kind of gets the point across. But this movie starts where our investigation ended, right? So, it kind of opened up all that. And then it basically goes through and how the Panama Papers ended up getting exposed.
Right.
on that. So it ended up being a worldwide, um, situation here, as far as corruption goes, et cetera.
Right.
So, but, the other thing is, we had some, concerns about some of the, some of the agencies that were responding, um, some of the stuff that happened. So we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
Right. And like I said, I've been going through the FOIA and FOIL request thoroughly and making all kinds of notes and stuff. And, we're very familiar because we were there. We saw
Great.
the capsizing. We recovered all the bodies. We did all the underwater, investigative work and forensics and stuff like that for the NTSB. And we also recovered the vessel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And we're going to talk about it. And I'm the one who lives in upstate New York. Great. I can hear the knock on the door now.
and I'll give Ed's address.
Yeah. Don't give that over to
Molotov cocktails coming through your window.
excuse me, can you come to the door for a moment?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
You may want to move before we
Yeah,
hear
before we
those
do that
episodes.
episode. Yeah. All right, man.
All right, buddy.
Well,
Well, we
thanks
thank
again.
everybody. And once again, can you please like and share and subscribe? That helps us out tremendously, and keeps the shows going.
Yep.
But we're hoping someday that we can get enough corporate funding where we can start doing video reenactments for people, make it
Yeah.
a lot more interesting. And,
Yep.
that way they can see what's really involved rather than just trying to imagine it in their head.
Right.
Uh,
But I'm Senior Investigator Ed Myron
and I'm Senior Investigator Rich Moran.
for Underwater CSI Revealed. Everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
On behalf of everyone at Underwater CSI International, Revealed, this is Randy Overton. Thank you for tuning in. Underwater CSI International Revealed is for entertainment purposes only. The information revealed is not intended, nor is it a substitution for the proper training and education received from a qualified dive professional. Certain episodes are loosely based on and may be modified from actual cases. Some episodes are fictional based, featuring procedures that could possibly be used by underwater investigators. Resemblance to destinations, actual cases, or persons living or deceased is purely coincidental.